Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kensington Cross Stitch. I am Deborah, and it is so good to be with you for another episode. It is Thursday, August 15th. I feel like that's the thing I cannot stick the landing on ever. It is August 15, 2024, and it is, as I said, really good to be with you. It's been a couple of busy weeks here, work-wise, personal life-wise, so I did have an out-of-town guest. My cousin from Canada was in town, which was really fun. I didn't get a chance to take a huge amount of time off while she was here, but she's a very independent kind of minded person anyway, and so is perfectly happy to do her own thing, but we were able to get together for a couple of different things. And of course, there was the evening and weekends, which was really nice. So it's always good to have guests because you get to be a tourist in your own state, right? I got to visit a couple of places that I hadn't been before. My cousin also decided that she needed to go on an ice cream tour. And I've been saying, you could absolutely do an ice cream tour of Connecticut. She decided to actually do it. So I would get reports of these visits, and I was able to go to a couple of them with her. Most notably, I would say, was Arethusa, which is one of the most famous of the Connecticut creamers. So we did get to do that, spend some time up in Litchfield. I didn't get to go inside of it. I need to go back for this, but Litchfield is also the home of the oldest law school in the country, which, if you've ever not been there, it's tiny. It's a one-room schoolhouse, so it'll be fun to go back and explore that at some point. Let's see. In addition to the ice cream outside of Litchfield, we also explored ice cream in Essex. I have been to Essex before, but we just kind of wandered the shops and took it slow and walked around and had a nice time. And then there we actually had a flight of ice cream. So we got four different flavors that we were able to try. All of them were delicious. Spent a little bit of time in Old Saybrook that day, and then we went down to Madison just to hit RJ Julia, which is an independent bookshop here in Connecticut. So that was really fun. So it was so nice to have her in town. But as you know, as with anything with any guests that you have, it's so wonderful to have them. It's honestly kind of nice to see them go to because you just get your house back. You get to kind of get back into your routines. Definitely threw the cats off the visits. So by the end, well, Wesley was kind of fine with it the whole time. By the end, Doc was grudgingly okay with this, but there were a couple of days when he was just hanging out in the basement. I feel so bad for him, but it was good to have her here, and I'll actually be going the other direction, visiting her in a couple of weeks up in Canada, so that will be nice. I don't know how much ice cream we'll have. We'll have some ice cream, but there will be good coffee, and there will be a theater and all kinds of things. So that was nice. And then what else? Oh, I will say after she left, I hunkered down and had kind of an introvert weekend, and I spent pretty much the entirety of last weekend sitting and stitching and watching Disney documentaries. I watched many, many hours of Disney documentaries. If you need to know any facts about the building of the original Disneyland, Disney World, Disneyland Paris, Disney Shanghai, all of the various Disneylands that now exist in the world, I probably could tell you facts about them. So anyway, but it was nice. It was good to kind of get some time to just sit and stitch and do that. And this coming weekend is actually going to be a stitching day as well. I'll be seeing some friends on Saturday. We'll be doing some stitching. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be having a Zoom call with Judith, because we're going to be finishing up our ABCs piece together, which will be really fun. So I am excited to have kind of a second stitching weekend in a row, which will be really fun. All right, that's our intro for today. Today, obviously, I have stitching to show you. I have stitching to talk about. I have a little bit of book talk at the end, and that will be our agenda for the day. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is a surprise FO, a project that I have had on the whip pile for quite some time. You've seen it occasionally, but I actually finished it. So let's show this to you. And here is our Hobbit mealtime. So this is a piece from Etsy, Unova cross stitch, I think it is. I will link to it down, or I'll put it in the description box below. And I can't show you the original pattern because it's just the pattern itself. The original does have some additional stitching on it. There is a frame around the entire thing that has a Hobbit house at the top. And then there's an extra line that I think says late night snack. I did leave that off because this is sort of the original quote from the movie. There was also a backstitched ampersand that I left off there, which I think there's a little bit of extra space, but I think it makes sense to have them there and separated. But a piece that's been on the whip pile for quite some time, but I just kind of got in the mood to sit down and get it done. And because it was just 2 colors, it was really easy, something that I was able to just sit down and work on. And the 2 colors that I used were both Victorian motto. One is Christmas green, and then there was also the Emerald City, so really bold, vibrant colors. I thought it was really great for that piece. And then the fabric that I stitched it on is a 32 count linen. I think it was just kind of a generic linen that I picked up at Joann many years ago. And then what I did is I used the Instant Antique Spray, and I just sprayed this. And I had originally cut out a whole bunch of pieces like this, had done all of the antiquing on them for a monthly piece that I had started, and then I decided to not finish. So I have a couple of these pieces still hanging around. So I thought this was perfect for that. And I have mentioned in the past that the plan is this will hang somewhere near my cat's food bowl. I know, I'm doing cross stitch for my cats. Yes. That's how life is. But the reason for it is Wesley is my little tuxedo cat, and he loves food. He lives for food. And we have literally this many meals in the day because I have to very carefully parse everything out. Otherwise, he would just eat everything in sight, much like the birds that are at my feeder these days. So that is our piece. And then in terms of finishing, I think I'm just going to do a very simple finish on this. This is a piece I got at, I think, Michael's not too long ago for another project that I didn't use it for, but I thought that would be kind of perfect. And I'll see if I can find some fabric to go behind it for a little bit of lining. So that should be a pretty quick fully finish. I say that as the person who hasn't really done any fully finishing in quite some time. We'll get there. We'll get there. So that was Hobbit Mealtime. The next piece that I have to show you, if I get this out of my way, is my whips. So I am going to start with the one that's just the most sort of unwieldy. And I realized, excuse me, allow me to get some assistance. So when we met together last, which was in July, I said that I was doing some Christmas in July stitching. And the reason that I was doing that is I really needed to catch up on a year-long project that I had set myself to task for, to do an advent calendar, working on 2 each month so that I'd have all done by the end of the year. And then I, by March, had gotten behind, and then just got increasingly far behind. So I had set myself the goal of catching up in July, which meant I was going from having 4 of them finished to having 14 of them finished. And I was being optimistic in the last one that I was like, I can do this. I can do this. You guys, I did it. I got it done. It was July 31st in the evening, but I got the last one done. So I was feeling very proud of myself. So as I did the last time, I'm going to show all of them to you just because they're super cute. Give me just a second to get these all lined up here. And then I will also show you the source of the pattern in case you are visiting for the first time with us. So these are the first 4 pieces. I am stitching them on perforated paper, as you can see. And these I had finished before, but the first 8. But again, I just love showing them off because they're just so cute. So why not take the opportunity? So those were the pieces that I had finished in my last video. I had finished these to show you and was feeling very proud of myself. I've got 6 more to show you. All right, let's see here. Right, so we've got 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 9 is just some little blocks, which I thought was really cute. And then number 10 is some Christmas cards kind of in a little basket. I am adapting the pattern, and so there was a handle to the basket that made it a little more obvious that that's what this was, or a wagon. I wasn't able to stitch that, but I was like, we'll get it figured out. Number 11 is some Christmas ornaments, and then I also just thought that this little reindeer ornament was just too cute, and I had to include that one as well. And then number 12 is a present and some wrapping paper. Really like those blues. So those were 4 of the pieces that I finished over the last couple of weeks. And then got 2 more to show you. So these were my, what would have originally even been my July assignment. So we've got 13 and 14, just a little simple wreath, and then that cute little teddy bear in the present. So those were the two pieces that I finished right at the last midnight hour, but I was really happy to have it done. And you can actually, on camera, you can tell what I was going to talk about, which is you may notice that these two reds are not the same. It is the same DMC color, but I was getting really close to being running out of floss on this one, and I was like, gonna do it. I was like, just in case, I'm being stubborn and I'm gonna finish it up. And so there was, I think it was maybe this flower, there were about 6 stitches where I was literally reef threading the needle every time I went up and down because there was not enough floss. And I was like, I am darn sure I'm gonna get this thing done. So I had just enough floss. I eked it out in order to finish this, which turned out to be really good because I went and had to buy another skein of floss, and it is a different color. When I started this, I knew that I wasn't starting with a full skein, but it's been long enough since I kitted up the project that I couldn't remember if it was a new skein that I had purchased, because when I buy them now, I split them into 2 floss cards because I figure very rarely do you need a full skein of floss, and I inevitably, if I put it all on one floss drop, I will inevitably need more of that color for another project. So I just naturally just start splitting it up to begin with. And so I had thought that was what had happened, but when I ran out and I realized what was happening, I looked everywhere and I could not find any more of that color in any other projects. So it may have actually been a skein that I picked up. It's been 10 or 12 years was when I got most of my DMC stash. So dye lots change, things change. I feel like it is noticeable, but on the other hand, I'm going to keep doing it anyway because there's no way to remedy it. There's really nothing I can do about it. It at least is not on the same 2 pieces. And once I finish it, once I put it on the stocking, once it's hanging, when, as we've said, it's going to be winter, it's going to be dark, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. But I was stitching and I was like, this seems like a different color than I've been staring at for a while. And then I put it next to the 13. I was like, yes, that is a very different thing. But I was glad that I had been stubborn enough to just make sure that I could finish that one piece just in case. So anyway, so that was our Christmas in July stitching, and that is all coming from the Magic of Christmas to Cross Stitch by Veronique Enginger. This is something that you can get readily on Amazon, although if you are new, I will put in a little bit of a warning, which is I am making some major alterations to the piece, in the sense that I am not stitching most of the original Advent pieces that are in the designs because they're mostly just red work. What I am doing is I'm taking full color versions of other images from elsewhere in the book and using them inside to give them that full color look. So the designs are in the book somewhere. They're just probably not in the Advent calendar as designed. But obviously there are a lot of different things that you can do with that. And it doesn't take that amount. I mean, you have to be a little bit careful to kind of figure out exactly what's there and what you're doing, but it's doable. It's totally doable. So that is my Christmas in July stitching that I got done. You will notice that I have not started my August stitching, but as I said at the beginning, I do have a stitching weekend planned, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get most, if not all of that done this weekend, and then can keep going with that one again in September. All right. The next piece to show you is another of my monthly stitching pieces, and this is Autumn ABCs by Little House Needleworks. And this is the piece that I have been working on with a couple of other stitchers over the course of the last year. And this is the last piece, and it is the last month. So we are, I think, all kind of coming into the home stretch on this one. And as I mentioned, Judith, who is JLK Stitches on Instagram, she is one of the people who is stitching along with us and reached out and said, hey, do you want to do a Zoom call or a video call just so that we can finish stitching together? And so I was like, that sounds fantastic. So we've got that set up for Sunday, and I am really looking forward to spending time with her, getting to know each other a little bit beyond just our stitches and our pictures. So this is where I am. When we spoke last, I was a little bit behind, and I had finished up through the leaves. So what I have done since we last met is kind of the rest of that piece there. And then you'll notice I have, at this point, there's just some flowers here, kind of a sunflowery looking series down at the bottom. And then I have the little bird needs its beak and it needs to have something to sit on. So just a few stitches left, but I think that'll be good. Jude, if you're like significantly further along, let me know, because we want to be a little bit close to where each other is. But again, another really fun piece. And I've got all of the finishing stuff ready to go, so I can just get that up and on the display. There we go. In time for the fall. So that is Autumn ABCs by Little House Needleworks. All right. The next piece I have to show you is the most exciting stitching in the entire world. Can you wait for it? Wait for it. Oh my gosh. 6 boxes. So if you are new, returning, this is also a Little House Needleworks series. And this is a piece that I'm working on with a couple of ladies from the Connecticut Stitching Circle. We've got a couple other people joining us as well. And we are working on this over the course of essentially the next 2 years in time to be finished by July 4th, 2026, which is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And we are working on the Early American series by Little House Needleworks. It is 9 pieces, 8 of which feature a person and their name and a house. It is actually a building that is affiliated with this particular person. And then there's kind of a center block that I'm deciding what I'm going to do with on that one. And then what I'm going to be doing is making my own border to go around in commemoration of the semi-quincentennial. And I'm also going to be doing some research for additional people who were involved in this era, whether that was directly or indirectly, people who were already here, as well as those who became colonists. So what that's allowing me to do is take time over the next couple of years to learn, to educate myself about some people, to think about how I'm actually going to design the border, all of that. But as I have learned, I definitely do really well when I have set out a specific kind of an agenda for myself for how often, when I'm going to stitch it, how much I'm going to do over the course of that time. Because if I just set vague goals, they inevitably don't happen. So I have planned out the next 2 years of my stitching. Hopefully you can't read this because my handwriting is terrible. But what that means is the first 3 months I am doing the block outline. So it's not the most interesting stitching in the world, but it is very nice when you just want to sit and stitch and not really have to think about anything, because it is really repetitive. But anyway, once I finish that, I will actually get started working on the individual blocks. I'll be taking 2 months for each of those, doing some border, etc. If you would like to join us, as I mentioned, we are doing this as a SAL, so it's the 250th 250th Independence SAL is our hashtag, and you are welcome to join us. And it doesn't have to be this series. It could be another patriotic piece, another piece that is in some way related to July 4. So we would love to have you join us, and it'll be fun to kind of be thinking about how to working on that as we are getting closer to this date, as that we are commemorating that event in our history. So that is the Early American series by Little House Needleworks. And then I have one more whip to show you. And this is one that I'm also kind of working on seasonally. And so I am doing Season to Season, the Apple Branch by Curtis Boehringer. And I've showed this in the past, and what I really like about it is whichever way that you display it, the lettering is right side up for a particular season. And so my intention is that I will frame this in a square frame, just like you see, not just like you see here, but a frame like that a square frame as they have also used. And then I will actually rotate it in the display depending on the particular season. So let's see, I had gotten spring done, and now I have moved on to summer. I haven't got a huge amount done on it, but I did get started on the lettering. So I will be kind of heading off in this direction next. And I would love to get this done this month too, but my first priority will be working on my Advent pieces, because I feel like I've got a little bit of time into September that I can still say that's summer, but I do want to try and keep up with this over the course of the next couple of seasons. And I will say it does show up better than you're seeing on this particular piece. I am not remembering to talk about any of my fabrics or floss today, am I? If you have questions, I'm happy to share. This one is a 25 count even weave, and I am stitching it over 2, which is one of the suggested sizes that you use. The original pattern calls for DMC flower floss. I'm using a DMC alternative, which is also provided in the pattern. So that was my progress on that particular piece. And that was all of my stitching for the last couple of weeks. Give me 1 second to have a drink, and then I will continue on. All right, so the next thing that I want to show you is it was a whip that I showed last time. I had worked on it very, very minimally, and the picture is terrible. Let's see if we can... that may be about as what we can get. So it's a piece that is showing exploding fireworks over some trees and then in front of a lake. And then you see the reflections of the fireworks in the lake. And it is noticeably called Reflections on the 4th. This is a piece that I started last summer, and I worked on it literally for one length of floss this summer. And I am really not enjoying the piece for a variety of reasons. And I was talking about this in my last video. I won't recap everything that I said last time, but I was asking for suggestions. I was like, can somebody help me? Somebody save this project. And I got a couple of good suggestions, but I got a really fantastic suggestion from one stitcher in particular, and I am checking Melinda. I want to make sure that you get credit, Melinda. She was like, well, what if you do this? And what if you do that? And what if you do this? And it was like, you could use a different color of fabric. You could use embroidery stitches. You could paint the trees. You could do this. And I was just like, that is all amazing. I love every single one of those ideas. How can I make this happen? So I was channeling my inner Roz Clark Craft, who is another YouTuber and is just incredibly talented and creative in so many ways. And I was like, how would Roz think about this? So I've come up with an idea. I am not sure I think it's a good idea. I am not sure that I will be able to accomplish it well or how it will play out in reality, but I think I want to try. But I wanted to show it to you and let me know. You can let me know what you think, because I think it's a possibility. So what I did is I bought a couple of printed fabrics. I went on the hunt for printed fabrics, and I'm just like, someone in the world must have a printed fabric that shows like trees and some water. And I found a couple, one of which was okay. It was like a shore in Massachusetts or something. And I was like, it's okay. And then I found one on Etsy that it's not one piece, but it's 2 separate pieces. So I wound up buying this piece, and these are 16 count Aida. So I've got all of these different trees and the white fabric at the top. So I bought that. I actually bought 2 of them, which I will get back to. And then I bought this other one, which is just water and sky. And what I was thinking is combining all of those ideas that Melinda suggested, which is, could I basically cut up the fabric, maybe following the tree line in some way, maybe like here. Could I kind of cut the fabric and fray it a little bit, and then use floss or something to stitch these 2 pieces of fabric together as if they are kind of layering. They're being layered upon each other so that you would wind up with the water and the trees. And the reason I bought the second one is if I wanted to, I could flip it upside down and I would get a reflection down here if I wanted to. and kind of use like maybe a running stitch or something like that to kind of join the pieces together, and do it kind of following the tree line, so it's not just a straight kind of line between the two of them. And then I could still stitch the fireworks at the top. And if I wanted to, I could stitch kind of using either embroidery stitches or using cross stitches. I could kind of embellish the trees, and I could potentially put a little bit of the reflection in the water, and join them all together so that it's a multi kind of layer, multi fabric project, some of which is stitching, but a lot of it is utilizing the fact that look at all those trees that I don't have to stitch and all of that. And then what I was thinking is obviously like these are different colors. What I also want to experiment with is if I could actually dye these so that they are dark fabric. Like I think I could, it is an Aida, which I was like, I'm not going to do that. And I was like, I can make it work. Maybe I could probably make it work. So if I dye it so it is a darker color, I want to test it because this is a printed fabric, but I want to make sure it doesn't run. That would not be good. But then I would actually have kind of a solid color that would make them look like they are kind of coming from the same piece. So that's my vague idea. Do you think it'll work? Do you have any suggestions for how to make it better? I don't know. What do you think? It feels like it's kind of a multi-craft, modal. I don't know. Is that the right word? It would not be a traditional cross stitch, but I'm feeling like you could take advantage of the fact that there is this printed fabric that has not the same scene, but a similar scene in it. And I would still get to stitch the thing that I love, which is actually just, frankly, the fireworks, while not having to deal with the rest. And I think the fact that it is an Aida, it's going to be an easier fabric to see. Even if I did dye it a darker color, I should think I would be able to see it more than the linen that I was working on right now. And I'll just figure out the half stitches and whatnot if I need to, because people have been doing that on Aida for a long time. It's maybe not the best thing, but it's doable. So what do you think? Yeah. What do you think? Let me know if you think that is a feasible project. At this point, we're past July 4. Summer is winding up. It probably won't be something I touch in the near future, but I think it's at least reasonable. Let me know what you think. If you have another suggestion, if you have a way to adapt it, if you have some other total idea, let me know, because I really do want to salvage this project as something that I want to stitch. I just need to figure out what that's going to look like. Okay, that was that. Oh, that will move us on to the recent acquisitions / haul portion of the video. If that's not your thing, I will see you the next time. But in addition to purchasing those couple of fabrics, I also purchased one small piece, which is this 20 count Aida, also from the same company. Somewhere in here I have that information. It is from Easy Stitch, easystitch.net. They're also on Etsy. So that was where I got those. And since I was ordering it, I also got this tiny little piece because I figure I have a number of like kind of European charts that I think would really look cute on this and do essentially the same thing. You could stitch, embellish, and then take advantage of the fact that there's already this scene here. So I was just like, no chart travels alone, no fabric travels alone. These are just the realities of cross stitching. All right. The next couple of things that I have to show you for haul, I don't have a huge amount, but I did want to show you just a couple of pieces. This one is covering it up. Sorry. Okay. So one of the things that I have done in the past is I have attended a number of the Friend Stitch events, which are online retreats put out by Heart and Hand and Bent Creek. And unfortunately, I didn't know about Bent Creek, or I didn't know about Friend Stitch when it first started, and so I missed the very first one. And there was a pattern in there that I had always really, really loved, and they have not released them ever since, and they have no intention of releasing them, unfortunately. And they sent out an email a couple of months ago and were like, hey, we're basically selling off our backstash. If you want stuff, let us know. So I fully took advantage of that to buy this pattern because I think that this Christmas tree is the one that I have always really, really loved. I like the way that the snow is designed. I love the designs in the tree itself. So I definitely took advantage of that opportunity to purchase it. And then it also came with some other pieces, including that tiny little guy, which will make a fun little ornament. So I did pick up that from Friend Stitch. I also was having one of those evenings when I was just sort of like scrolling the internet on my phone. And I just kept thinking, you know, now that I have the bird feeders and that the cats are watching the birds, I really clearly need some cross stitch that are showing birds and cats and things like this. And so I wound up going scroll. I'm having a day in which I'm just like crossing my arms constantly. So I was thinking about this, and I was kind of in the mood for like vintage cross stitch too. So I was looking on eBay for some older patterns to see if there was anything that I really liked. And having scrolled eBay for quite some time that night, there were not that many that I wanted to stitch, but I found two, one of which has no cats, but I will show it to you first because it's on the top of the pile. I did, however, pick up this one, which is Sam Hawkins' Thoughts of You, and it is wisteria and these couple of little birds whose names I don't know yet, and then this quote about sisters. I don't have a sister, so I will change that. My cousin was looking at it, and she was just like, I was like, it's not because I have a secret. I'm going to change the words. So I just thought that was a really pretty piece. And you could put any kind of quote. You wouldn't even have to put a quote in there at all. But I thought that one was really pretty. And the floss is already sorted, y'all. That's going to be fantastic. So I will probably switch it out for a different fabric. But I thought that one was really pretty. And then the other one, I did actually find one cat/bird picture. Unfortunately, it's not cross stitch. It's a crewel piece. And so what it is maybe this is where I got this from. It's a printed design, which you can see just a little bit of it. And then you get the floss and yarn to embellish certain aspects of the piece. I don't know why I'm showing this like so sideways. So most of it you don't have to stitch yourself. You're basically just adding that extra layer to it. So this is kind of what I was thinking similarly for the Fireworks piece. And I just thought that one was really lovely. So it's as I mentioned, it's a crewel embroidery kit, which I have not done very much of, but I have actually done this piece, which is also the same concept. This is a piece that when I was growing up, there was a craft store. That's the word I was looking for. There was a craft store near my house, AC Moore, and we used to go there anytime that I would convince my parents that we needed to go there, which was a lot. We were there a lot. And there was a version of this that hung in the cross-stitch aisle back when craft stores had full cross-stitch aisles. And it was a really large version of this piece. And I loved it. I wanted it. And it was so far out of my price range. It was not something my parents could get for me. And I just loved it. Every time we went in there, I would just stare, and I wanted it so much. And so fast forward many years, I did not have a copy of it. And I was at a Barnes & Noble in college, and I found this pattern, or I found this kit in the clearance bin at a Barnes & Noble, and I bought that puppy so fast. It wasn't the cross-stitch version, but I was like, I don't care. It's not big. I don't care. I want it. And I took it home, and I basically fudged my way through a bunch of embroidery, and it has been hanging in every place that I have lived, including my dorm rooms, ever since. I still love this piece. I think it is absolutely beautiful. A couple of years ago, I did go and look to see if I could find the original, the large version, and it is out there. You can still find copies of it. It is a cross-stitch version. But I actually learned in the interim that I actually like this piece better. I like the fact that you get more detail in the printed version than you do in the stitching, I think. And so I could have bought it. I could have restitched it. I could have done all of those things after all these years, but this is the version that I like now. So that always makes me very fond. It gives me fond feelings toward crewel embroidery. So maybe this will become another one of those pieces too. All right. That is our stitching most of our stitching content for the day. The last thing that we have to do is we had the giveaways from last video. We were celebrating having passed 2,500 subscribers, which again, you guys are fantastic. Thank you for that. It is just really wonderful. But we did have a couple of giveaways, so I wanted to quickly go over those. So for lot 1, which was a heart and hand piece, and then this Little House Needleworks, it was Vicki Kennedy. I do have your address already, so Vicki, I will get that sent out in the mail to you in the near future. The next one was a couple of Christmas pieces, Christmas pillow tuck, and Sugar House cookie, and those are going to Susan Hayward Alt. Susan, I have your address, and I will also get that in the mail to you. Next, we had 3 pieces, all by Lottie Da. We had Virtue, Where My Heart Is, and Home Needlebook. Those are going to Kelly Wood. Kelly, congratulations. So I will get those to you. And then the last thing that we had was a kit from Silver Needle, and this is called Friendship Blooms. And that one is going to Mary Karamitsu. And Mary, I will get that in the mail to you as well. So congratulations to each of you. Thank you to everybody who entered. We will, of course, giveaways will return at some point in the future, but congratulations to the 4 of you, and I will get those into the mail, to you fairly soon. Okay, with that, that is the end of the stitching content for tonight. I do have a little bit of book talk to talk about. I have a little bit of book talk to share with you tonight, and then we'll wrap up for the evening. So I did mention that I did get down to RJ Julia, which is a really fantastic independent bookshop down in Madison. And it was one of those times I was just kind of wandering around and seeing what I see, and picked up a couple of books that I had no specific books in mind when I walked in the door, but the books that I walked out with, I don't know if I would have said, they were not at all the books I would have said that I was going to walk out with, but I'm very happy with both of them. So I picked up 2 books. One is Shopkeeping, which is called Stories, Advice, and Observations by Peter Miller. And then I will talk about this one a little more in just a second. And then I picked up the Selected Poems of Robert Frost, the illustrated edition. And one of the things that I like about RJ Julia is they have an entire bay of books that are basically special editions. And so they purposefully seek out interesting versions of books. Some of them have beautiful covers, some of them are leather bound, some of them are illustrated. If there is a kind of a special version of a book, you can go and take a look at that. So I always enjoy looking at that, and I just thought this was absolutely gorgeous. And I mentioned that a few weeks ago I went to a one-man performance of about Robert Frost, and it was somebody performing as if they were Frost, giving kind of a lecture, and then reading, kind of giving their reading his poetry, reciting his poetry, I guess is the correct term, talking about his life, thoughts on various things. And so I really enjoyed the evening. And then I was reminded that, I've read sort of the famous poems. I've read about the 2 roads converge in a wood. I've read about good fences make good neighbors, the poems that you read in school, or at least I read in school. But I hadn't really delved into his poetry beyond that, and I really enjoyed what we heard. I appreciated that, and so I thought that I'd kind of had it in the back of my mind of I should read some Robert Frost. And then I saw this edition. I was like, well, there we go. I bought that one. So it is just illustrated throughout, just a really kind of woodcut style of illustration. And let's see, now of course all I'm finding is poems. So anyway, this is kind of scattered throughout the book. Really, as I mentioned, it's a really, really wonderful version if you take the kind of the dust jacket off. And it was $21, which I thought was just astounding for a book like this. And so I definitely picked that up, and I'm looking forward to reading some Robert Frost in the near future. The other book that I picked up, as I mentioned, was this Shopkeeping book, and it was sitting on the counter. It was one of those books that was right by the cash register. And I don't run a shop. I worked in a shop. Like, I worked in a couple of bookstores, saying all of those words at the exact same time. I worked in one of them many years ago, a couple of them, but I have not worked in a shop since. I have no intention of owning one, any of those things, or any kind of store, but I just thought it just seemed interesting. It was just kind of this guy who runs an architectural store in Seattle, had it for many years, and it definitely is what it says. This is not the book that you pick up if you are thinking of running a store, owning a store. This is not the book that you pick up and it's like, okay, you need to be thinking about payroll. You need to be thinking about this. Like, it's not that kind of book. This is like sitting down for coffee with somebody who runs a store, who just kind of talks about lessons that they have learned, things that they have enjoyed, what has worked, what has not worked. Just kind of a little bit, it's not rambly, it's just eclectic. It's just a little bit on this topic and a little bit on that topic. And so I read this over the course of kind of a couple evenings as I was getting ready for bed, and it also has some illustrations inside. But I just enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting look at a different kind of career path than I have. And like I said, it was really just like sitting down with somebody for coffee who is telling you about their professional career. And so I enjoyed it. That's it. I liked it. I saw it. I liked it. I bought it. I saw it. I bought it. I liked it. That's probably how it actually happened. But I think that that's one of the really fun things about bookstores is you get to wander in and you have no idea what you're going to pick up. And you walk out with some really interesting titles, things that you didn't expect, and you learn something because you're willing to give it a chance. So I thought that was just really fun to do. All right. The last thing that I have to do for the video tonight is draw a prompt. So you may remember from the last video at the end, I was talking about how I am using reading challenges to encourage myself to read. By the way, both of these books would fit a reading challenge. One of them is a word that has double letters in it. Got that one. And one of them was a book of poetry. So there we go. But in the course of that conversation, I mentioned that at some point in my past, I had created a bunch of prompts for myself to encourage me to be reading books from my to read pile. I put them in this tin. I printed them out. I put them in this tin, and then I have not ever actually done it. And so it has been so long that I literally do not even remember what these prompts say. And I had said, if anybody wants a true mystery prompt to read along with me, let's do it. So I had at least one taker. So you know what that means? It means we're going to do it. All right. So here we go. What do we got? I just dropped a bunch of them on the floor. Okay. So our prompt for this time, let's say it's August 15. I did not think about this in advance. Okay. It's August 15. So why don't we do I will draw a new prompt every other video. I typically film every 2 to 3 weeks. So that gives you 4 to 6 weeks-ish to find a book, read it, talk about it, let me know how you like it, all of those things. That seem reasonable? Let's do it. Okay. Here's our prompt. A book about food. That's exciting. Okay. I definitely have some books that I could read that are on that prompt. So think about it. Let me know what you would like to read. Let me know what books you pick. And then we will check in with each other over the next couple of videos. But for the next 4 to 6 weeks-ish, think about a book about food. We'd love to have you join us, and I am excited to see what you do. So, all right. That's it for today. It was wonderful to be with you. I hope that you have a good rest of your week. Have some wonderful stitchy time, and we'll talk again soon. Bye, everybody.